Hello, welcome to the session on humor and creativity in ELT. Hi friends, just think of your school, college days and class hours you enjoyed the most. What made you remember them still? Definitely, among the many reasons, some may be like you might have explored yourself as a learner or as an individual, or might have discovered your creative skills in a stress-free, friendly atmosphere in the company of a humanistic teacher. Teaching is an art of creating favorable classroom situations, of transcending content interestingly and lively with a touch of humor, and of identifying and nurturing the innate talents and creativity of the learners. Then what is humor? What is creativity? Let's now have a detailed understanding of each of them. Humor and its importance in teaching learning process. The word humor does not indicate simply joking and laughter when we spend our time with family and acquaintances. Of course, it is the sudden awareness of an alternative construction of a distressful situation which leads to relief and joy, says Bori, 1998. In the field of English language teaching, humor is defined as any physical action or spoken statement, intentionally or otherwise, that causes students to react by laughing, giggling, smiling, etc. Faulkner, 2011. In the last 2 decades or so, researchers have made a lot of studies regarding the effectiveness of humor in second language acquisition and its impact on the fourfold language skills. Humor plays an important role in second language or foreign language learning. Learning of any new language requires a positive and friendly classroom atmosphere. Incorporating humor in English language classroom interaction is a source of reducing tension, boredom and anxiety in a language class. A teacher must be creative to develop a positive learning environment so that a student not only learns but also enjoys, not hesitates but also learns, and not feels stressed but relaxed while learning. This is possible only when teacher knows how to entertain his or her students by using humor in classroom. It is a very skillful way of motivating those students who are demotivated, showing no interest in language classes due to various factors like lack of confidence, anxiety factor, language ego, shyness, hesitation, and nervousness. Those teachers who create a friendly environment by cracking jokes, narrating funny incidents, and sharing experiences are the most popular among the students. This makes the class more lively and students take more interest in this kind of language classes. Their language learning capability automatically enhances, and for this reason, they learn a second language or foreign language within no time. Researchers have proved that humor has got a positive influence on learning and memory. Humor helps learners to keep things in their minds and memorize elements of a language for a long time. Humorous sentences were recalled significantly better by students than non-humorous ones. As per educational psychology, humor can enhance learning processes in 2 ways. Directly through emotional appeal and stimulation of our cognitive processes responsible for retention and memory, and indirectly through the creation of a more positive classroom atmosphere, which in turn proves conducive to learning. From a language acquisition point of view, both these factors play a very important role when it comes to determining the reason for why humor should be used in classroom. To achieve advanced language skills, Students of English need to be able to identify and understand humorous instances in the target language. From a linguistic point of view, the humor used in foreign language classroom can be a very helpful teaching device to create linguistic awareness. It can be a motivating way to make the students aware of specific features in phonology, morphology, and syntax of the target language. Through humor, students become sensitive to the structural and the semantic differences between the different languages. English has got a large stock of phonological jokes that bring together different meanings of a specific word or relate different word senses that sound alike. Students of English are expected to identify puns and plays of words in order to successfully communicate in target language. It can raise their intercultural awareness and see that some humorous expressions are almost impossible to translate into another language without losing their humorous effect. Here are some of the evidences of the impact of humor in classrooms. Researchers have proved that humor improves classroom climate, maximizes student-teacher rapport, and facilitates learning. Appropriate use of humor reduces tension and boosts self-confidence and success. Moreover, students also show positive attitudes towards the use of humor in language classes. Learners stated that humor increases their concentration and interest since it combats boredom and helps them cope with learning difficult materials. Based on the result of these studies, foreign or second language teachers are recommended to include humor in their materials. Stephen Krashen's input hypothesis, 1985, poses the need for implementing humor in the context of second language classrooms. According to Krashen, a student's feeling of anxiety builds up an affective filter, a mental block which makes the individual generally unreceptive to language input. Thus, the learner cannot utilize the comprehensible input received for language acquisition, which keeps him or her from making further progress in that specific target language. Using humor in education is powerful and enjoyable. Moreover, it helps pupils learn. In an English class, teachers can develop numerous activities and games on pronunciation, spelling, use of idioms and phrases, phrasal verbs, etc., where learners can work upon interestingly. It can make the process of learning more meaningful and help keep the attention of the audience. Let us have an idea regarding the advantages of humor in classroom. Humor contributes to a positive learning environment. It breaks the ice during teaching. It helps students improve their communication skills. Students' inhibition can be reduced to a certain extent. It helps teachers stay away from the mechanical use of course book. It may also bring a new insight to a teacher's teaching performance. It also enables students practice foreign language skills. Now, some of the difficulties that teachers may confront in implementing humor in the classroom. It requires an effective joke cracking skill, which most teachers are afraid of. It requires sub-skills such as cultural understanding and catching the punchline in the first instance. Jokes should be refined by the teacher and classified. Some jokes may be difficult to understand due to ambiguity in meaning and play on words. Sometimes teachers should put in a lot of effort to make the student understand the hidden meanings. Now, things to be remembered while using humor in classroom. All the topics cannot be presented humorously. Certain contexts demand humorous situations. Try to think about the topic of presentation that can be utilized humorously so that it can be concretized in the memory of the audience. Look for funny props, newspaper clippings, Far Side comics, stories, or anything else that can be utilized in connection with the topic. Remember, it is very difficult to create humor in the target language. Be ready for some of your attempts at humor to fail. Use impressions, slapstick, puns, words or phrases with double meanings, funny stories, or any other technique that might be helpful to arise humor in classroom. Humor must not offend someone. Let us now move on to the concept of creativity and its significance in language classrooms. Creativity. Creativity is an adventurous thinking or a getting away from the main track, breaking out of the mold, being open to experience and permitting one thing to lead to another. Drevdal defines creativity as the capacity of a person to produce compositions, products or ideas which are essentially new or novel and previously unknown to the producer. Nature and characteristics of creativity. Creativity as a novel and unique personal experience, and on the basis of the experiences and findings of various scholars, may be said to possess the following characteristics. Creativity is universal. Creativity is not bound by the impediments of age, culture, or location. It is not limited to any individual, groups of individuals, caste, color, or creed. Creativity is innate as well as acquired. It is a God-given gift. At the same time, the influence of cultural background, experiences, education and training in the nurturing of creativity cannot be ruled out. Creativity produces something new or novel. The novelty doesn't mean the production of a totally new idea or object which has never been experienced or has never existed before. It should not be exact repetition or reproduction of what has already been experienced or learnt by an individual. Creativity is adventurous and open thinking. It inspires a person to come out in the open, to express himself according to his will and to function unrestricted by routine or previous practice. Creativity is a means as well as an end in itself. None other than the Creator can experience the warmth, happiness and satisfaction which he receives through his creation. Creativity carries ego involvement. The Creator takes pride in his creation and hence make ego-involved statements like, "It's my creation," "I have solved this problem," etc. Creativity has a wide scope. It's not only restricted to scientific innovations or discoveries, but also covers other fields like composition of poems, writing of stories and plays, performance in fields of dance, music, painting, etc. Creativity and intelligence do not necessarily go hand in hand. Research findings and observations have demonstrated that there is no positive correlation between creativity and intelligence. One is not the essential or necessary prerequisite of the other. Those found scoring high on intelligence tests may demonstrate little or no signs of creativity, whereas individuals performing poorly in intelligence tests may sometimes create something very original. Creativity rests more on divergent thinking than on convergent thinking. Divergent thinking involves a broad scanning operation enabling a person to evolve a general multiple possible solution, and hence it is put into use when one is confronted with a problem which has many possible solutions. Creativity and school achievement are not correlated. No significant correlation has been observed between an individual's creative talent and a school performance. Sociability and creativity are negatively correlated. The creative individual is more inner than outer oriented. He likes to utilize his energy and potential more for the satisfaction of his creative urge than to care for the pleasant security of positive peer approval. Creativity and anxiety often go together. The high anxiety of the creative individual may be the result of his craving for the satisfaction of his creative urge and discontent with his status or rate of progress in attaining his creative motive. Considering all the above characteristics of creativity, as a teacher, what can we do to nurture creativity in our students? Nurturing creativity. It is essential for teachers as well as parents to realize the need of creating an environment conducive to full growth and development of the creative abilities of our children. This can be achieved through the following practices: freedom to respond, opportunity for ego involvement, encouraging originality and flexibility, removal of hesitation and fear, providing appropriate opportunities and atmosphere for creative expression, developing healthy habits among children, using the creative resources of the community, avoidance of block to creative thinking, proper organization of curriculum, reform in the evaluation system, use of special techniques for fostering creativity, example brainstorming, use of teaching models and gaming techniques, teaching by examples, and so forth. Now let us look into some activities to nurture creativity in a language classroom. Phonics. Learning about letter shapes and names can be creative. When the young learners are introduced to letters, write the letters one by one on the board and ask questions like, can you make a letter? With your fingers? With your hands? With your whole body? With a partner? The students will be ready to try their own ideas. Words. Vocabulary words can be taught in many creative ways. For example, verbs such as walk, tiptoe, and skate can be learnt more deeply by inviting students to move in creative ways. Questions might include, show me what it's like to walk in deep snow. Show me how you might walk on hot sand. Imagine that you're tiptoeing past a sleeping polar bear. We are on a frozen lake in Antarctica. Let's skate with the penguins. Grammar. Words such as nouns and adjectives can be presented creatively through facial expressions and body language, through movement, and even through dramatic skills. It can be very creative as it is expressed in songs, poetry, and storytelling. Enacting the stories. Stories form an integral part of teaching a language. These stories help teach the students about formation of sentences and how to express their thoughts creatively, and help in keeping the students' interest alive, as the stories end as something that every student wants to know. It appeals to the inquisitive nature of the students. Any unfinished story always keeps the mind of the reader agitated. Teaching through conversations. Conversations form a very important part of the teaching process. The sentence construction and the grammar is not something that can be entirely taught by rules. They have to be taught creatively. This can be taken care of easily, as every conversation needs a topic. The topic can be given to students in form of written documents, which they have to first read, then form an opinion, and then have a conversation about it. The participation and other aspects of conversation can always be evaluated through points which will also push the students to take part in the conversation. These conversations have to be general. They have to happen as if friends are talking to each other. This way, the students are comfortable in expressing themselves creatively in the best possible way. Teaching through word games. The most important part of any language is the vocabulary. To understand the meaning of words and to use them in a day-to-day life is very difficult a task, and games can help the students overcome this difficulty. Creative games like Scrabble, Housey, etc. have been designed for this specific purpose. These games are just based on words and help the students develop their vocabulary. In addition to these, very simple games can be played to help improve the word database of the students, such as simple dictation competitions, synonym competitions, word puzzles, anagrams, and hangman. All these games are very addictive and help a lot in improving our vocabulary, as whenever the students hear a new word, the first question that comes up is, what is its meaning? And in this way, the vocabulary improves, and most of the times we don't even have to consult the dictionary. Creative assignments. If the students are just given assignments like write a story or a poem or a report, then most of the students crack, because not everyone can come up with a story, or even if they come up with one, they cannot write it down. In such case, the students should be given the base knowledge and data and then ask them to modify the data. For example, the students can be given a base story and then ask them to modify a part of it. This engages their creativity and also helps them overcome their difficulty of writing. Help from the multimedia. Multimedia sources like songs, movies, TV series, magazines, newspapers all play a vital role in improving our language. Apart from that, the source is very helpful as it does not feel like education. This is something that the students will do in their spare time. The songs are the best way to communicate how to use a language to express our feelings. Movies are a very common pastime, but apart from that, most of the times they are also very instructional and educational. Also, this method appeals to the students, as most of the times they are able to connect with songs and the movies, which help them understand the meaning of expressions, usage of tools of language like comparisons, personifications, etc. These sources help them understand why such tools are necessary and also help them understand their usage. Hence, this method is again very effective in teaching the language. Techniques with fun. Creative time in language sessions can be utilized effectively by developing an environment with lowered affective filters. A few techniques which will develop a communicative classroom environment are cartoon parlor, cartoons with dialogue boxes or bubbles in another language, or cartoons with blank dialogue boxes are provided. Learners are asked to fill the boxes using the target language. Video cartoons can also be used, and learners have to give sounds to the slides. Frontline demonstration. Learning of language is facilitated by the learner's speech to experiment with grammatical, phonological, and lexical items of the foreign language. This language play can be presented in a simulated classroom environment. Through feedback sessions, errors can be eliminated. Vocabulary games. Word hunt, word building games by supply, spelling bee, word sun, portmanteau words, dominoes, jumbled words, word net, picture puzzle, and crossword puzzles will help improve the repertoire of words through fun. Author dupe. Learners can take up the role of famous authors or other personalities. They will speak on themes using person's style, vocabulary, etc. Mailbox. Similar to a diary entry, everyday experience of learners, especially learning or school experiences, can be written and posted in the class mailbox. Cut and paste. Fun with creativity can be promoted when learners collect excerpts from variety text and compile them to form a new text. You might have heard of models of teaching. Among various models of teaching, Synectic Model deserves special mention since it can be used to develop creativity. Synectic Model. In 1961, William J. Gordon and his associates designed a very interesting and delightful experience to the development of innovations known as synectics. The model was originally designed to form creativity groups in industrial and other organizations to solve problems to develop quality products. Characteristics of Gordon's model. According to this model, creativity is important in everyday activities. Gordon's model is designed to increase problem solving, creative expression, empathy, and insight into social relations. Second, the creative process is not at all mysterious. It can be described and it is possible to train persons directly to increase their creativity. Traditionally, creativity is viewed as a mysterious, innate, and personal capacity. Third, creative invention is similar in all fields, the arts, the sciences, engineering, and is characterized by the same underlying intellectual processes. Gordon's fourth assumption is that individual and group invention, creative thinking, is very similar. Individuals and groups generate ideas and products in much the same fashion. In school systems, the main technique used is analogy. The student is led into an imaginary or illogical world to see things never seen before, to express himself in novel ways, to approach problems from a different angle which is entirely different from others as is perceived by the mind's eye through fresh ways of thinking. He has to express his ideas clearly and also grasp ideas clearly and comprehensively. Steps of the models to be followed in the classroom. First one, describe the topic. Secondly, create direct analogies. Third, describe personal analogies. Fourth, identify compressed conflicts. Fifth, create new direct analogy. Sixth, re-examine the original topic. Seventh, evaluate. Step 1. The teacher asks the students to describe a given topic. This can be done orally or the students can write down the topic. Descriptive words are then listed on the board. Example, the topic is feelings. Descriptive words: love, hate, anger, sadness, guilt, happy, remorse, joy, satisfaction, etc. Step 2. Students examine the descriptive words and form analogies between the words and an unrelated category such as plants, animals, or machines. After all, students have given an analogy, the best one is voted on by the class. Example: think of a plant that reminds you of the listed words. Analogies: a rose reminds me of love. Jasmine reminds me of Valentine's Day and happiness. Lily reminds me of death and sadness. Step 3. The teacher asks students to think about how he or she should feel to be the object chosen in step 2. Students must also tell why they have that particular feeling. Students' responses are recorded. Example: how would it feel to be a rose? Responses: alive, happy, safe, smelt, plucked, ignored, curdled, held on, dead, recognized, good, loved, bad, crushed. Step 4. The students are asked to review their responses to find pairs of words which seem to fight or are in opposition to one another. The class votes for the pair of words that represent the best compressed conflict. Example: ignored loved, good bad, happy sad, alive dead, held on crushed. Step 5. The teacher asks for another category for a direct analogy, and the class must think of example of that category which is best described by the compressed category chosen in step 4. Example: animal is the analogy, alive, dead are the characteristics. Direct analogies: lion, dog, cat, bear, dinosaur, etc. Step 6. The class talks about the original topic by comparing the last direct analogy to the original topic. New images are created. Example: feelings are like lions. They are alive but sometimes appear to be dead. Feelings are like roses and lilies. Sometimes they make you happy and sometimes they make you sad. Step 7. Students evaluate the writing done before and after the models to see if more creative insight has been added. They must also analyze the thought processes involved. Tips for the teacher: create direct analogies. What words have the same or similar meaning? Try synonyms. Describe personal analogies. What would it feel like to have the characteristics or traits of describe emotions and physical attributes? Identify compressed conflicts. What words have the opposite meanings or characteristics? Use antonyms. Create new direct analogy. What words have the similar or same meaning? This repeats the prompt from the second step. The difference after going through the first 3 lists is that you will have gone deeper into the subject, and this list will reflect that depth. Synthesis. Look at all the 4 steps and find key words or phrases. Expand on those to generate more. Finally, focus on a theme that may incorporate several elements based on the final list. Now let us conclude the session. Language learning occurs through interaction, negotiating meaning, and modifying language. Humor is an important spice to be used in teaching. In humor, language is seen in authentic and real-life situations. It is one of the crucial factors in enhancing critical thinking, as it enhances self-confidence, performance, interest, and motivation if applied appropriately. Talking about creativity in language classrooms, it must be ensured that children are provided with the environment and facilities conducive to the nurturing and stimulation of all the factors which is helpful in the development of creative faculties and qualities like originality, flexibility, ideational fluency, divergent thinking, self-confidence, persistence, sensitiveness, the ability to see relationship and make association. Thus, for more effective language classrooms, teachers should consider including more elements of humor and creativity, as both play a significant role in removing monotony and boredom. Before we attend the next session, please try to answer some questions. Write any 5 contexts where you can incorporate creativity in language classroom. List some of the blocks to creative thinking. Briefly explain brainstorming technique. Suggest some of the methods through which you can develop creative resources of the community. Books for your reference. Synectics, The Development of Creative Capacity by W.J.J. Gordon, Harper and Row Publishers, New York. Principles and Practices in Second Language Acquisition by Stephen Krashen, Prentice Hall International, 1987. Techniques and Principles of Language Teaching by D.F. Larson, Oxford University Press, 2nd edition, 2002. The Psychology of Humor An Integrative Approach by R. Martin, Elsevier Academic Press, Boston. Advanced Educational Psychology by S.K. Mangal, Prentice Hall, New Delhi. Mind in Society by L.S. Vyotsky, Harvard University Press, Cambridge. Thank you for watching today's program. Goodbye.